This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is a new gaming laptop line from HP. They call it Victus by HP. Let's just call it the HP Victus. It's a 16.1-inch gaming laptop that is a mid-tier laptop. So that's one that's often hard to do right? You got to cut back on some features compared to expensive models, but you don't want it to seem super ultra budget. And HP has largely done a good job with that. I mean, this is a nice looking piece. Yeah, it's not a metal chassis, it's not a razor blade, but it's got style, yet it's kind of calm and staid looking plastic chassis on board. And you can get this with AMD Ryzen or Intel 11th Gen CPUs. This is the Intel 11th Gen. Don't be too bummed. That's still some good things to say about Intel CPUs for gaming. And you can get it with NVIDIA RTX 3050 Ti or RTX 3060 graphics. So on this one here, the price starts at $799 with the Core i5 and the 3050 Ti. Now the Ryzen edition starts $100 less, but be warned that there you're looking at an even lower end Ryzen CPU and a GTX 1650. So that one kind of is in the low end configuration. You can get a higher end configuration with the Ryzen edition, but just to warn you that there's a reason why that price starts so low. Ours has a Core i7 and RTX 3060, 16 gigs of RAM and a 512 gig SSD, and the pricing on that one starts at around $1,220, which means it's not too painful for a gaming laptop. Also, if you're wondering why not look at the Lenovo Legion 5 Pro and some others, well, this one comes in a few $100s less, and also it's quite available, even the Ryzen edition. So HP has done a good job with actually sourcing GPUs and CPUs. We're going to look at it now. So laptop in this price range and this spec range, obviously it's geared towards 1080p gaming, and no surprise, it's available with 1080p IPS displays. There's a 250 nit and a 300 nit option on these, and they're 100% sRGB. We have, I would assume, the nominally 300 nit, though it measures considerably above. You can see the metrics on screen now. It's a pretty good display. With the Intel model, there's also a QHD option that's 165 hertz, so that's nice if you're looking for something higher resolution. The full HD displays are 144 hertz, which is certainly appropriate for the horsepower inside. And honestly, when gaming, and I tested it with some more demanding games instead of just giving it easy time and going with Apex Legends or something like that, or Fortnite, I ended up with Far Cry 6, maybe not the most worthwhile game to play, but a demanding game, yes, and Cyberpunk 2077 and AC Valhalla. And you can get frame rates from the 60s to the 80s, depending on the game you're playing among those, at the highest settings with RTX turned off at 1080p resolution. So very good. And cooling on this is well handled too. You've got 4 heat pipes, you've got 5-way ventilation, as they say, which means side and back vents, and also the underneath obviously is sucking air in. And the temperatures on this are actually quite good in terms of core temperatures and also in terms of the chassis feel. And the noise levels are, for a gaming laptop, actually pretty good. So that's nice, especially in that price range where they have to cut something, in terms of budget. Got big fans on here, just what you want to see. Now, because it's not a $2,000 high-end laptop, this does have a polycarbonate plastic chassis. It's available in what we have, which I think they call it mica, and that has a white backlit keyboard. And there's a blue color, which has blue keyboard backlighting. I believe the Ryzen edition is also available in white, but that's kind of hard to find. So no RGB backlighting on this keyboard, but then that gives it a kind of a chill look. But if you wanted programmable zones, either use an external keyboard or look elsewhere. You can get this with an Intel Core i5 or a Core i7 11th Gen 45-watt H-series processor. So ours has the Core i7 11 800H CPU. So that's the same thing you're going to find on a more expensive gaming laptop, which is nice. For GPUs, again, 3050 Ti and a 3060, and we're looking at pretty good watts. You can see the specs on screen right now for the 3060 GPU here. And the performance, in fact, is good among other laptops in its class. Ports on this, to get inside, just unscrew the visible Phillips head screws and pry off the bottom cover. Start from the back. The ones in the front are a little on the tight side, so just keep that in mind. It'll take a little extra work. And hefty plastic cover. Lots of ventilation on it, and here are 2 really big fans. Given the fact that we're only up to the RTX 3060 for a GPU, that's a good thermal solution there. What the white schmutz is over here looks like maybe somebody had a little whoopsie with some thermal paste or something like that. And 2 RAM slots right here, DDR4 3200 megahertz RAM. So you can go up to 32 gigs if you use two 16 gig modules. If you want to upgrade this yourself afterwards, they sell it with 8, 16, or 32 gigs of RAM. And we have not one but two M.2 SSD slots. Yay, that. The SSD in ours was not particularly fast. You can, of course, upgrade these yourself. And HP sells them with up to 1 terabyte of storage, and there's also a RAID 0 option, but you can put up to a 2 terabyte drive in or set RAID up yourself afterwards if you wish to. The Intel AX201 Wi-Fi card is right here, partially covered by the heatsink, which is weird. And speaking of the heatsink, nice, beefy stuff here. No wonder the cooling is pretty good on this. Speakers, as usual, flank the battery, and they're not too large, but actually they make pretty good sound. I mean, you were going to want headphones for a really premium gaming experience, but they're fine for watching a movie or something like that. So one con to the build quality of this laptop, it might feel sturdy, it might look pretty nice, is the fact that, yes, it does have screen wobble, and I don't know what up with that hinge design, because even when it's closed, the microphone's on my chest, so you can probably hear. If that is the lid actually flopping around just a little bit. And yes, if you put it on a desk, it goes boingy boingy pretty easily. So for those of you who are still commuting on trains and buses, keep that in mind because the bouncy of the display might drive you crazy. It doesn't bounce as much when you're typing. Ports on this are pretty good too. We have 3 USB-A's, we have a USB-C. Now this should be Thunderbolt because this is 11th generation Intel platform, but HP only listed as USB-C. Device Manager doesn't show any Thunderbolt. And the little lightning bolt symbols you see, you'll notice also is next to the USB-A port. That just means that it can charge a device. So I don't think it has Thunderbolt, just USB-C. USB-C does support DisplayPort out for those of you who need that. And you have an HDMI 2.1 port, which is connected directly to the dedicated GPU rather than via Optimus. And for content creators, it's always nice to have a full-size SD card slot. So for those of you who are buying it more for that sort of thing and maybe not as much for the gaming, yay. Keyboard on this is decent enough. It has a crisp feel to it. It's not super deep travel or something like that. You know, again, use an external gaming mechanical keyboard if you want that kind of experience, but I liked it pretty well. And it does have a number pad for those of you who prefer that. The 16.1-inch chassis affords a little more room for having that. Trackpad on this works fine. Really nothing to say good or particularly bad among Windows 11 laptops. And yes, this ships with Windows 11 now. It's good. So, yay. For connectivity, we have Gigabit Ethernet. We have Wi-Fi 6. It's an Intel AX201 card and Bluetooth 5 on board. You have a 720p webcam, which is not uncommon these days, honestly. Well, all that's sounding pretty good, right? I mean, the thing's got style. It performs at the top of its class for the internals that it has inside. It's not too hot. It's not too loud. So how about battery life? Well, this is where laptops, gaming laptops in this price range suffer. They don't get the biggest batteries. We have a 70 watt-hour battery, which isn't huge. I mean, it's not shameful and embarrassingly low, but it's We do have an Optimus on board for switchable graphics, which can help. But in a mix of light productivity and streaming video kind of work, brightness set at 200 nits, it's about a 5 to 6 hour laptop, so not super great. You either get a 150 watt or a 200 watt charger. It depends on which GPU you go with. With the 3060, we have the 200 watt, and it's fairly compact, and HP's usual stylish kind of looks like a, I don't know, a chocolate bar or something like that charger. So that's the HP Victus gaming laptop, the new kid on the block from HP. And like I said, the cooling is good on this. The displays are quite competent and pleasant enough. Keyboard's good on it. I like the fact that it's not very noisy. The build is solid except for that kind of flippy floppy lid on it. I don't know what's going on with that hinge design there, but well, there's that. Obviously, they have some competition. Acer has some laptops in this price range that are worth a look too. Lenovo, again, with their Legions, typically a little bit more expensive and often have lead times of like 4 months, whereas you can get this one now. And well, if you need a laptop now, well, that becomes appealing. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos and hit the notification bell so you know about them.